So you hold this one with your middle arm, you hold this one with your right arm, and this one with your left arm. So you hold them with your 3 arms.
So you hold it like this, and then you with your third arm, go ahead and give it.
Yeah.
There's my third
Thusly.
arm. Like this.
It's like foosball. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Twincast Pod. We are a podcast where we pick up an old game, we dust it off, we turn it around in our hands to try to ascertain whether or not it stands up today. My name is Trevor, and we are shaking it up today, where I am the host, and I'm joined by the canonical twins, Cam and Clark. Cam, this is the Cam with the golden guns.
Golden guns.
Two ends, golden guns.
One shot and you're dead.
Clark is the token hottie. We are discussing a series that always has the token hottie. That is Clark.
I was always the good-looking twin.
Yeah. Hence token hottie.
Yeah.
Blitz question, Clark. Odd job or Jaws?
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, I don't know the difference between them. So we'll say Odd Job because I know that people hated playing against Odd Job.
Okay.
People hate playing against me.
If you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about GoldenEye 64. But before we kick everything off, we'll just talk about what we are. We are a book club, game club style podcast where we pick a new game every month. We play through it, then we discuss it like we're doing right now. If you want to engage with us, please comment on this episode either through YouTube or by emailing us at twincastpod@gmail.com. So we'll start getting a bunch of spam there. And then next month's game, you can play it with us. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I have a little distress right now because it's Montezuma's Revenge.
Oh,
It's an old
1983 game.
It's really like a hidden gem type of game. So
I'm actually kind of excited about it. It's like the proto Metroidvania.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea what that game is about, so it'll be new for me too. So we're talking about GoldenEye, GoldenEye 64.
I've never heard of it. Can you describe it to me?
GoldenEye 64 is just the greatest game that was ever released, unequivocally.
and stands with that title, right?
It's to this day.
To this day.
Name a good game.
Nothing has dethroned it.
It's better. So it came out all the way back in 1997.
Well, I think the game that we did last time was also in 1997. I know we talked a little bit about that last time. So
That's right.
could almost contrast them.
And I think, and it's crazy, you compare some of these games that come out about the same time, and some of these games do things really well, some of these games do things really not well, and this game is going to be an interesting discussion, I think, for those reasons. The developer was Rare. Have they made anything else?
Oh, they were big at this time. In fact, I've been playing a different Rare game for another video project that I'm working on. I've been playing Donkey Kong Country,
Yeah.
which is a Rare developer. Do you remember talking about the songs from Donkey Kong Country? How it sent you into your vibe stage
It's
or whatever?
beautiful, yeah. I was
Yeah.
just into trance.
Yeah, so that's the same developer.
They were kind of in Nintendo's pocket, right?
They weren't technically a Nintendo first-party developer, but they basically focused on
They worked
Nintendo
on some of
platforms.
their Nintendo's IPs and stuff like that, and did some of the games.
Yeah, it was shortly after this game that they were acquired by Microsoft. So.
Okay. Really pumped out some gems here for Nintendo. What are they doing now?
They're still with Microsoft, and honestly, I haven't really kept up with. I don't know what they're doing these days.
I'm gonna say I don't know either, but I still think they're relevant. But
Yeah, so they did Banjo-Kazooie on Nintendo 64 as well, and I know that they had developed some Banjo-Kazooie games for Microsoft. I know it's probably been 6, 7, 8 years ago. They did like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which was a pretty cool game where you could like build your own like machines and vehicles and stuff. That's the last one I remember. I don't know what they've been doing recently though.
Interesting. So we have
There is another what's the sequel to, not a sequel, like a proto sequel to this game, Perfect Dark.
I was gonna say Perfect.
So there's another Perfect Dark coming out. I'll bet you they've been developing that.
Yeah, and I had actually never even heard about that game until I started doing my research for this game. Everybody just says it's this game, but better.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in trying that out sometime. So I have some of the people that helped develop it. I didn't know if any of these names stuck out to you. Did you guys get a chance to look at these names?
I watched like a documentary, and so I was sort of familiar a little bit with some of the names from the documentary that I watched, because they were just talking about the time that they spent developing the game. But honestly, that's the only way I know them. I don't know like them in any other
They didn't go on
context.
to be famous developers or
They might be
designers.
like very niche famous, but like not like Kojima or anything like that.
If you are among these people on this list and you're watching, we apologize.
We love you.
Yeah, you're super famous. We know all of your work. So the system that it came out on, the Nintendo 64.
That's right.
Let's go.
That's right.
Classic.
It's one of the systems that Clark and I didn't have growing up. So, and
It's like a big blind spot. Like we were aware of it, obviously. We had some friends who had it, and so we played it a little bit. But this was a good opportunity for us. I didn't even own this Nintendo 64 until we spearheaded this podcast, and I picked it up.
Yeah, and what do you think? You missed out? You feel like you missed out, or do you feel like you didn't?
I think I made the right choice to get a PlayStation.
back in the day, yes. I was gonna say even most of our friends didn't have N64s. We had our neighbor Russell Long Channa had a 64, and he was a friend, but not a super close friend. And I only remember going over and playing it a couple times.
Russ, if you're watching this, best friends.
And the
Super
the
lucky.
Jukes also had one too.
Yeah.
And that's all I can remember. Did anyone else have one?
I mean, I'm sure there were others who did, but we didn't. Like, yeah, those.
I'll talk a little bit more about my feelings on the 64 and everything. And yeah. Anyway.
He loves it, is what he's trying to say. The genre, first-person shooter, right? Were there any console first-person shooters before this?
There were, but they were mostly ports of PC games, like Doom and Quake and
very
Wolfenstein.
cumbersome. And
What do you mean?
like the controls of these games, including this one, were always weird for me to try to play. They hadn't perfected it. I don't think they even perfected
this was like a half step. Like this one was better than what came before it, but
Yeah.
it still wasn't perfected. It wasn't until we got to
like
Halo. When you got to Halo, that's when like you started to see the first person shooter controls be standardized for consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a joystick for the Nintendo 64 controller?
Like a joystick? What do you mean?
Like not just a D-pad, like.
Oh, like a dual analog?
Yeah, like an actual like analog stick. This was like the first controller that had like a stick that wasn't just like a D-pad.
Right. So I mean, technically there were other analog sticks before the Nintendo 64, but this was the first analog stick developed like in mind with 3D. So like the PlayStation, like it was all developed to be a 3D platform, but it launched with no analog sticks.
Yeah.
They did have the DualShock that came out later. That had analog sticks on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just, I mean, so that controller, that just kind of like mapped over previous controls, right? Like did it add anything like in the PlayStation 1 era?
It did. It actually added quite a bit. There were a few games that really took advantage of the dual analog control. Ape Escape.
Yeah.
Ape Escape.
Yeah. That was the first one I remember.
Used both of the analogs.
And like, it was like true analog. So like you only push up a little bit, you walk slowly. You push up all the way, you run.
Okay.
So, I do think it was the Nintendo 64 that kind of spurred the analog sticks, but they didn't have the dual analog, and then it was the DualShock later came out on the PlayStation, and that sort of set the standard. So now if you look at most controllers these days, you can kind of trace it back to the DualShock.
Right. Two sticks.
Yeah.
Two sticks. PSP. We're looking at you. You had a lot of time to figure it out. Still came out with one stick.
Yeah. It was more of a nub. They had a little nub.
A single nub. Yeah. Man. What a mistake. Great system. Historical impact, guys. I'm saying large.
Yes, it's definitely large.
Yeah,
Like if you had, I didn't realize this until I started researching this for this podcast, but this is the second best-selling game on the Nintendo 64.
Really? What was the first, Mario?
Mario 64, but Mario 64, but this beat like Zelda, and this beat like both Zelda games and Donkey Kong and Mario Kart. So like this was, and it's interesting because it didn't catch on. Like they didn't think it was going to be a big hit at first. So when it came out, it was limited in its sales because they didn't manufacture enough carts.
Really interesting.
And so it wasn't until like the year after when like the sales like really exploded because now they saw the demand and they made more cartridges. Yeah.
So what was it, do you think, that spurred the demand? I mean, it's I guess the first like true 4-console first-person shooter. Was that?
Yes, that's part of it. And we'll get into this, but that's one of the reasons why we weren't as interested in it at the time because we were deep in the PC.
Yeah.
But PC gaming was still very niche at the time, and you really had to have a lot of like technical knowledge to get into it. Luckily, Cam and I, we had some of that knowledge, but it was really our friends who had,
Carl really
and Tim
hooked us up and got us into that. And so, I was going to mention this. The reason this wasn't even really on our radar at all is because, I mean, we were aware of it, but it was more like we were like the PC master race then. It was like we saw people playing this cute little game, and we're like, mouse and keyboard, that's where it's at. You need to play with a mouse and a keyboard.
But putting our snobbery aside, this really brought it to the masses, right?
Yeah.
So up to this point, first-person shooters were really just very niche. On PC, a little bit on some consoles, but this was the first time where it was on like a system that natively had 4 ports on it, so it was really easy to get up and get going, and without any technical, like without having to haul around CRT, 100-pound CRT monitors and bring them into a basement and network everything up. It was just plug and play, easy to go, and so it's easy to see why this is like a lot of people's first experience with a first-person shooter.
Yeah, really accessible.
Also, the N64 was looking for its killer app to go against the PlayStation, and those who had adopted the N64, I feel, were hungry for a game that was like this, that felt like it wasn't like a kid's game, it was like an adult game with guns and everything, and so there was kind of a pent-up demand, and they needed that killer app, and this obviously came in and satisfied those cravings.
The Nintendo 64 was just like a barren like landscape between releases, because you had like really great games would come out like Mario, and then you would have to wait like a year or two until like a Zelda would come out. And, like the third-party developers, it just wasn't logistically smart to put things on the Nintendo 64. The development was difficult and expensive because of the cartridges.
Yeah, the cartridges were way more expensive than just the CDs that the PlayStation.
So I think Cam's right. Like, this was the killer app that the Nintendo 64 fans could be like, you guys can't really do this on PlayStation, which is pretty much true. Like, because you didn't, I mean, there were some games that could get halfway there, but on the PlayStation, you didn't really have anything like this.
Yeah, you would need a multi-tap to get the 4 players going on PlayStation. Yeah. We had that. We played some multiplayer games, but no multiplayer first-person shooter games.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's coincidental that you mentioned that, because I did, because of this game, when you guys gave us the PlayStation that you guys gave us, I wanted a James Bond game. So I was like, well, James Bond games are obviously awesome. So I went and got The World Is Not Enough on the PlayStation. I was like, this is terrible. This is a terrible game.
I'm sure it probably wasn't made by Rare. It was probably...
It was not. It was not. I do remember that.
Was it a first-person game?
It was first-person, yeah.
It was...
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Last thing before we really get into the meat and potatoes, a little pop quiz for you guys. What do you think Metacritic gave this?
I didn't look this up, so I'm going to guess...
I'm glad that you didn't, because this is...
I'm going to guess 75.
What do you think, Larry?
76.
You guys ready?
Yeah, what?
76. That's Price is Right. 96.
Really?
What?
96.
I'm wrong.
So I say that because I know your guys' opinions of this game, and I'm excited, and I want to set the backdrop here before we get into it. So we've talked a little bit about a little bit about past experiences. My first experience, I told you guys, was my dad when I'd go over to his house. He had a Nintendo 64, only one controller, so I played the campaign. I call myself a purist when it comes to this game, and I loved it.
Slogging through the camp.
Did you beat it on the toughest difficulty?
I did not. I was probably 7, so I couldn't even figure out where.
You didn't know what a modem was.
I did not know what a modem was.
What do I have to do with this modem?
I'm like, what is a modem? I don't even know what I'm looking for here. But yeah, it was an adult game. I thought it was really cool. Like, I mean, as a kid, like you're just like, this is sweet. Like, it's just adult enough. But it's not like too crazy that like the adults are gonna walk into the room and be like, you can't play this game anymore. Yeah. So it was kind of like that perfect sweet spot. So you guys had some friends with Nintendo 64s. Did they have this game?
Well, I know that Russell Long Chan had this game, and we were over at his house, probably at like maybe a sleepover or something. I remember being there late one night and playing this game over there, and my memories are so tainted because I remember trying to play this game, and I was such a PC Master Race snob.
Is this ilk?
Yeah, I think it just tainted my view of this game because I was used to playing Quake and Jedi Knight with my own PC, my own monitor and everything like that.
Voodoo graphics card.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had the Voodoo too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I remember being super frustrated with the controls and just thinking like the keyboard and mouse is what I was used to, and these guys were blowing me away with this super weird 3-legged controller. How do I hold this thing? I don't know. That's probably what your first experience was too. Do you have any?
That's really that's my only experience with it as a kid. So I won't elaborate too much because basically I have the same opinion that Cameron just stated there. I will say that in subsequent years, I've listened to a lot of video game podcasts over the years, and a lot of the video game podcasts I listen to are hosted by millennials, and so they would always like wax poetic about this game. And so a lot of my experience is just silently judging these people as they talk about this game.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I think you guys are going to get a lot of subscribers to this episode. Everybody's going to be angry.
No, don't be angry at us. I know I was wrong back then. I'm a different human being now, and I'm sorry. I've changed.
Don't cave to the peer pressure, man. We're just getting started.
I'm not sorry.
Tell me about the gameplay. You guys, before we did this podcast, we were playing some multiplayer, some split screen. Shout out to our friend Derek. Couldn't make it today. He played with us. Played the multiplayer. Did you guys get any chance to play the campaign?
I did. So I played through about the first 2 levels, okay. And then I watched a video kind of outlining the rest of it. Yeah. And so it was not good. Just put the spoiler up here. Like, it was really difficult and hard to get into. And this is just one of those aspects where game design has come leaps and bounds from where this was at. However, like, watching some of the like breakdowns, and I can see where this was actually like the single player was actually a little bit revolutionary at the time. There weren't a lot of first-person shooter campaigns at the time because you had like Quake and Doom, and those games were all just basically monster closets. And
they had campaigns, but they weren't really fleshed out with story or anything.
Yeah, this has story, and it has like different objectives that are like unique. And I found it, super boring. And some of it was
they were all terrible, those objectives, but they had them.
Well, just they don't stand up today, like compared to the way that mission structures and things play out in games today. But this was sort of paving new ground, right? Yeah. Like this really hadn't been done in this way before, where campaigns and things before were just kind of an afterthought. Like this actually led with the campaign, and there was a lot of thought. In fact, what's funny is that like in the development of this game, the multiplayer was actually the afterthought. Yeah. Like it wasn't multiplayer driven first, which is funny because that's what ended up like giving its lasting legacy. It was built with the single-player campaign in mind. And so, yes, while I don't think it holds up very well today, I can see and appreciate like its contribution and what it, like the way it set the course for future campaigns.
Yeah. Cam, tell me, how does this game play?
Well, I mean, it's a first-person shooter. If we're talking about the campaign, it sets you down in the level, and then it gives you a briefing before you come in. You look through the briefing on what you're supposed to do.
You
And
actually had to read.
yeah, you have to read.
Mom, that's teaching me to read.
And so depending on the skill level that you choose, you'll have different objectives and stuff like that. Like for example, I gave the modem example. So on the first level, if you do the easiest level, all you have to do is run through, open up some gates, and then jump off the dam.
Yeah.
And then, but if you make it increase the difficulty, it'll say you need to find this modem and do something with the modem. I can't even remember.
I got all the way like through the end of that campaign, and I didn't have the modem there. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
And then I like finally figured out like, okay, I push start to pull up my watch, and then it says, oh, you need to install a modem. I'm like, where?
Modem.
Like there's no map or anything like that, and so I was like, just like wandering down the level, like after I'd been through the whole thing, trying to figure out where to put the modem.
Yeah.
So my experience playing is I booted up, I put it on rookie because I was going to try to, because I was bracing myself to try to figure out that controller. So I put it on rookie and I hopped in there and I went around the corner and there was a bad guy there and I was like, okay.
First test.
First test, and I bring up my gun and I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with this and then how I'm supposed to strafe and stuff like that. And the guy saw me and he does like a sideward barrel roll. Do a barrel roll. And he's like, he'll set up and shoot it, and then he'll do another one. I was like, okay. Well, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to control that guy. So I had an interesting experience there with that first guy there. And then I figured out that they can go hit an alarm and bring just like a wave of bad guys that'll just overwhelm you. They just swarm you like zombies and you die. So, that was my experience with the campaign. But other than that, it's a typical like first-person shooter game. That
the environments are like well thought out. I mean, well crafted, I should say. Like you can tell they put a lot of effort in making these environments match like the movie, and it doesn't really play out like the movie, but it does look like places that you're in that you see in the sets of the movie.
Yeah, it looks recognizable.
One thing I do have to mention though is as it's still in that spot where first-person shooters, a lot of them you can't jump, so there's no jumping here. It's hard to kind of move around and strafe and aim at the same time. So, and I mean, it's all just with the difficulty of the controller and stuff like that. So it lacks some things that other first-person shooters have, but mostly because of the hardware limitations.
Yeah, and that's a good point about the jumping. They try to design the levels where they're vertical, they're three-dimensional environments, which is cool and admirable, but nothing tunes you into the fact more that you can't jump other than these vertical environments that they've built for you to try to like get up.
Yeah, the fact that it's fully 3D is actually pretty impressive for the time.
I think the only one before this was Quake.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. A lot of the first-person shooters at this time didn't have full 3D environments. In fact, a lot of the things were just sprites that just scaled and turned with you. Well, I'm not sure if you kind of like Duke Nukem or whatever. Doom. Yeah, and so it is admirable. You can look up and down. Some of the first-person shooters at that time, you could only look left and right and not up and down. So
what really threw me off, at least I'm pretty sure that none of the controls, because what's hard about coming back to this gameplay today is like we have all of this context around some standardized controls, and now we're going back where there's not standardized controls because I'm so used to having one analog stick be your head, like looking around, and then the other analog stick basically be your feet. And this way it's separated. Yeah. So like your joystick is look up. So wait, no, like your joystick is walk forward, walk back, and then turn in a circle.
And then you've got your yellow buttons. So
and one of them does like the left and right ones do strafe,
and then
and then the other ones look up and down. So it's not like it's like two hemispheres of my brain trying to like meld and do these things like weird because I'm so used to what modern controls are these days.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up a tangential question. Do you think that are we gonna improve on the first-person shooter console controls? Like, is there gonna be any major improvement in the future, or this is it?
As from what we understand as a standard console, I don't think there's gonna be major improvements right now.
Yeah.
where these go right now, and I haven't done a ton of these, but like just I guess maybe VR shooters in the future.
That's completely different.
Which is something completely different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think Clark already mentioned this. Halo kind of came out and just set the standard on what you need to do when you have a controller, and even since then, they haven't really changed it much since then. So
yeah. So the Nintendo 64 controller, you're saying that we're not ever going to see a third handle on a future controller?
Unfortunately, not.
We got one of those,
let's hold one up right here.
Yeah, let's show the
I'm sure
show the folks at home. So you hold this one with your middle arm, you hold this one with your right arm, and this one with your left arm. So you hold them with your 3 arms.
So you hold it like this, and then with your third arm, go ahead and give it. There's my third
Thusly.
arm. Like this.
It's like foosball.
No, I don't know if you guys noticed this though, but it does have some pretty like accessibility built into it this way though, because the way it actually works is you could be left-handed or right-handed and use it, right? Because these yellow ones do the same things as the D-pad.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So
and this does the same. The shoulder buttons are the same.
Yeah. So if you wanted to,
For those
like this
listening,
or like this.
For those listening on the podcast, Clark's switching his hands around from the left side to the
He's
right side.
manipulating one of the best controllers ever designed. He's handling it.
Yeah. So at least they had some accessibility built in.
That's a good point. That's actually
Lefties are always being left out in the cold, but not with 007.
Yeah, what do left-handed people have to do today? Is turn it upside down? Or something?
They just have to deal.
They just deal.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. So we talked a little bit about the single-player campaign. Does the multiplayer have a different experience, Clark?
Oh, so you know that I've been pretty negative in our text correspondence and other correspondence, but when we got here and we sat down, and actually I did this with my wife and my kid before I sat down and we played it, and there's just something magic about being in the same room and playing a game, even if it doesn't hold up today. It's just silly, goofy fun, right? And that is the thing that does hold up, even if the game is archaic and looks bad by today's standards. It's still goofy fun, and so I think that part won me over a little bit. Like, we'll talk about it when we talk about the scores, but I was going to rank it a lot lower than I was until I started getting into the same room, which honestly, like, you don't get a lot of that these days. You don't get a lot of people in the same room playing a game like this, and so I think that these kinds of experiences are a little bit missing today, so it was really fun.
So earlier today, we had a chance to play with Clark's boy, Jeremy, and we were talking a little bit, and Clark asked him how this compared to Fortnite, and he's like, this is as good as Fortnite. and I think that's probably one of the highest praises that this new generation can give.
Yeah. He was having a lot of fun. Yeah.
It is fun. It is pretty chaotic, and that's the fun part. Like I feel like everything that's bad about it as a game becomes something positive when you're sitting side by side playing that multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kicking our butts.
Yeah. When I finally remembered how to move around. Yeah. It is. The controls are janky. There's nothing around it. But I mean, you can't blame the game too much.
We all have the same handicap when we're playing. So we're all put on the same level playing field, right?
I was at a retro game store today, and I saw an N64, one of the new ones that are like it's the Retro Fighter or something like that that's been updated to be more like a normal controller.
Oh.
And I was tempted to buy it just so I could use it today without having to use the things, but I didn't want to spend $30 on a controller.
I was gonna say, you add like a normal controller to this game, and I don't know, maybe does it make it more fun, or does it take away? What do you think, multiplayer wise?
So I have no nostalgia for it. So like I know those people who probably have nostalgia for these controllers, but I would say if you could bring in a better control set for it, you probably should.
Yeah. That's I do tend to agree with that. Cam, we played a few multiplayer modes. What was something that you were surprised that you enjoyed, and what was something that you hated about the multiplayer?
Well, I mean, just like Clark, I enjoyed just sitting down, being in the same room, playing a game with friends.
It's the funnest part is being with the friends. It's really the friends, and it's a good way to
something to focus.
Yeah,
it's like a great thing.
To focus the energy of the room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the levels were interesting. I think like the level that we jumped in, I was also I started and I was in a duct, and I'm like, where am I? and I'm like, oh, this is like Metal Gear Solid. I'm walking around the ducts and I fall down and there's a toilet, just like Metal Gear Solid. And Trevor's like, that's just like the movie. So apparently it's just like the movie. But I mean, I thought that was interesting. And then we played this mode where Trevor was setting down proximity bombs that he found in the toilet, by the way. Dropping some bombs.
Some bombs.
And I thought that was pretty, just like little like discoveries when we were trying to learn about the game, and you killing us with bombs and stuff like that. Because we're all here together, it was fun to laugh about it and learn about this game. So,
What's something you didn't like?
The multi-level shooting. A lot of these levels.
We already kind of talked.
We talked about this, but the
But with the
multi-level
multiplayer,
shooting
for sure.
is in multiplayer is super frustrating. You have like a person up on a ledge, and you're down here. The person on the ledge can't jump down. It won't let you jump down into the. So you have to like switch into like the aim mode with when you hit like a shoulder right here. And if you're in aim mode, you can't really walk
You're
around.
stationary.
You're stationary.
That A mode is pretty difficult too because it's like weird A mode where like it's always snaps back to the center.
Yes.
So you have to like kind of play this like dance of like getting it to be on the screen before it snaps like back to the center.
So there were several times where I was either up on the ledge or down below, and I was trying to do the aim mode at the person that was up on the ledge before me, and someone came down that was on the same level me and just killed me. Because I'm just sitting there trying to kill someone that's up on the ledge. So that's pretty frustrating, I feel. Some of the level design, I mean, it's not bad, but it's they're limited because it's on a cartridge, so you don't like it's tough to remember where you are because everything looks the same.
Well, yeah, all of the textures and
It all looks the same.
yeah, it looks the same.
So you're wandering around and you're like, okay, I remember this part kind of because it kind of goes up, and it's just it's hard, but that's the limitations of the system too. So, and also 4-player split screen when you're working with low poly as it is, and it's squished down to a screen this big, it's sometimes hard to see.
Yeah, there's some details that you're missing out on. Clark, when you left, Clark picked this up the food today, so thanks to Clark. When you left, we played one of the levels that you might have played in multiplayer, Cave. We just exited that level because we could not tell what was going on. Too dark. The textures were too similar. We had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I played that with Jeremy, and it was awful. I think we quit it pretty soon too. Like, it's just no sense of where you're at. Like you said, dark. Yeah, wasn't good.
Yeah.
So I also booted up some multiplayer with my kid, and I went around and I killed them quite a bit.
Is any good?
They didn't take on to it as much as Clark's kids did. In fact, their comment was, "This makes me want to GoldenDIE."
GoldenDIE.
GoldenDIE.
That's funny. Give me the name of the title. So we've talked about the multiplayer, we've talked about the single player, we talked a little bit about the controllers. What else do you guys have to say about the gameplay? Anything else to add?
I mean, that's pretty much our experience this time with the game.
I mean, it had a pretty robust, different ways you can load out the game too, which is pretty.
You mean like the multiplayer, like setting up the multiplayer?
Yeah, like the set, like the loadouts for the setup,
Yeah.
because you could do teams, you could do
Yeah.
free for all, you could do different types of guns, you could do different kinds of matches. It's pretty varied, and I liked some more than others. And that's pretty progressive for a game like this to have so many modes,
Yeah.
especially in a mode that was supposed to kind of be an afterthought.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real testament to the longevity of this game and why, countless college dorms hours were spent in front of this, because you could just change up the multiplayer in any number of ways.
It does, yeah, it does feel very different from match to match depending on how you set it up. I think my favorite was honestly the Man with the Golden Gun.
That was fun.
Mode.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun getting really mowed down by you guys. Let me tell you.
I had a great time. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This was super
It was never more fun to see my screen soaked in blood.
so cool.
The mode, you only live twice.
Yeah, you only live twice.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun mode because it's basically last man standing. You only have 2 lives.
Yeah, so you play a little bit different.
I liked it better than having the timer. I thought it was more fun.
Yeah.
So and then you could do that mode along with like a golden gun, and then you could change it up to. So yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah. Why don't we see these kinds of couch co-ops anymore?
Well, it's just, I mean, the rise of the internet, right? So it's so funny because I remember one of the very first games that we played online was Warcraft 2. And I was like, oh man, this is going to take multiplayer to the next level. I couldn't believe how awesome it was because Cam and I were there on the frontier of online. I'm like, this is going to make online gaming with anyone more accessible going forward. But in reality, like the opposite has happened, right? So now everyone is online, but everyone's also kind of anonymous. I almost just steer away from anything multiplayer just because of, you're going to have a pretty bad experience usually when you're just playing with randos, and
especially first-person games.
Yeah, especially first-person games. And so, I mean, the reason why it's gone away is just so much easier for people just to sit in their homes at their own leisure time and boot it up into the internet and play whenever they want on their own schedules, because it does take some matter of effort to set something like what we did up today, which is too bad.
If you have a dedicated play group of people and friends that are on, and you can coordinate your schedules, you can still do it online, but it's still not as good.
Yeah. There's just something better about being in the same room and, rubbing it in when you kill your uncles for the 20th time, right?
Yeah, rubbing it in when you say, hey, I'm going to place this proximity mine right here by these stairs. And then, like a minute later, I walk by the stairs and try to get
The courtesy proximity line. I'm placing it here, guys, just so you know. Yeah, and it's kind of fun because you forget some of the etiquette of playing together, and I'm like watching your guys' screens, and I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm not supposed to do that. I forget because you don't play screen jacking. Playing with anonymous online folk, especially first-person shooters, is just not fun. And I feel like there's enough demand for couch co-op that I'm surprised there's not more. There is a market, but it's a niche market. And like I kind of just like keep a wish list on Steam, but it's mostly indie games. Like there's no AAA.
Yeah, the only time that we kind of get something like this is when we talked about it in our episode, but we're like. In just actually next week, we're going up to a cabin where we do a LAN party, and one of the things that we do play is some first-person shooter games and other kinds of games, and that's really the only other time in my life that I really get to have that kind of experience, and that's with modern games. But it's really rare. Yeah. And it's hard to get that stuff together.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about these couch co-op games. I was thinking about this, and
you played It Takes Two, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, recently, the only games I've been playing with my youngest are co-op games. It Takes Two, like, Mara loves that game, and we had so much fun playing it. I also boot up the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, and we play co-op on those.
So there are some, but it's usually more in, like independent game spaces that are doing those kinds of things. I mean, there are some big publishers who are doing token thing here, like the publisher of It Takes Two just released one called Split Fiction.
Yeah, I want to check that one out. That one's a little more mature though, so it might not be for my youngest, but I'm still interested in that. So
yeah, it's a little more niche though for sure. So this game, it had a remake. It had a remake on the PlayStation 3, GoldenEye. They remade it with Daniel Craig. They changed some of the environments. I bought this game. Campaign sucked. So they stayed.
Did they change the campaign at all?
Was it different?
They changed it. They changed some of the story stuff. I mean, most of the iconic scenes were still there, but it wasn't like, frame for frame like what was going on here.
Yeah, but they should have kept Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. So they stayed true to the original. That the campaign wasn't fun, but the multiplayer was a split screen first-person shooter on the PlayStation 3, and it was like one of the only ones that I was aware of at the time. And that got a bunch of hours from me and my friends. It was also questionably good, but it was just tons of fun to sit down. And
so I'm sure the controls were much better.
They were much better. You're playing with a DualShock 3, so that by itself was leaps and bounds. So I would love to see more couch co-op for these kinds of games. Before we move on from gameplay, I posted to to Reddit. I said, GoldenEye, hot or not? I said, some people think it's a great FPS, some people think it's the worst. What do you think? How does it stand the test of time? Is it still fun? What was the impact it had? First comment, who is saying it's the worst? I haven't heard anything but near universal acclaim.
They didn't talk to us.
I'll refer you to my uncle.
I would never say it's the worst. There are plenty of terrible, terrible first-person shooter games.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and so a lot of people talked about Perfect Dark. Okay, yeah, GoldenEye, over 8 million copies sold. Some person on here, let me see if I can find it, they said it was the bridge between Quake and Halo.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about that here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of people love this game. A lot of people know that it aged terribly. A lot of people just have fond memories of the multiplayer. So yeah, I mean, I think nostalgia is a big factor in that gameplay.
Yeah, there's no doubting the impact of this game, and a lot of people are going to have a ton of nostalgia for this game. I mean, we're just walking circles around this now, but it just
We're
comes
strafing circles around this stuff.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, nice.
it's more like
It's difficult.
if you don't read, if you're not.
I'm turning in circles.
Turning in
I'm running in circles.
There was a point when we were playing today where Clark and I were both strafing around, trying to kill each other, just like strafe.
For literally like 2 minutes.
See, that's this conversation right now.
This person right here says it's dated as heck. They actually say heck here. I'm not editing it. It's dated as heck, but it's a lot of fun once you adjust to the old school controls.
I agree with that.
I don't think there's any divorcing this game from the controls. Like, the controls are part of the gameplay. The Nintendo 64 controller is part of this game. It's part of the legacy. It's part of why it's fun. It's part of why it's dumb. I think that's kind of it's the elephant in the room, but for some it's a positive elephant. I don't know.
Agree.
So that's gameplay. All right, well, now we are going to talk about story. So we've talked a little bit about story already. You guys played through a little bit of the campaign. Does the story add anything? Is it just there? Is it nothing to write home about? What do you guys think?
For me, it's nothing to write home about mostly because I couldn't really get into the story in the campaign. Mostly because I wasn't really drawn to the story mode at all. So.
Yeah, from what I can tell,
it's just the movie.
Yeah, I mean they have the
Yeah.
locations of the movie, but it doesn't really tell the story of the movie. Like it kind of does, but like you're doing things in like different orders, and it doesn't like tell a cohesive story, from what I could tell. So like I said, I only played for the first 2 levels, and then I watched a video of the other levels, and there's no voice acting because it's just on a cartridge, and that takes away a little bit because you have to read the mission briefings and the mission
With your
briefings.
eyeballs.
Yeah, and I did see that it falls into a trap of like protect Natalia. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of situations where
Oh
you're
man, it's so annoying too. Those missions are so annoying.
Yeah.
She dies so easily, man.
Let me ask you a question to you. When you were 7 years old and playing this game, were you able to follow along and get into the story?
I had seen the movie, so the iconic.
At 7 years old?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
at my dad's house. Cool. You got to see the movie.
You had a cool dad.
Yeah. I had seen the movie. He showed me the movie, and then I would watch him play the game, and then I would play the game. the iconic scenes, I knew what was going on, but at 7 years old, I was like, what's this modem? What's this modem? Why does this girl keep dying? I need her to finish this mission.
But you knew who Sean Bean was, and you knew that he was going to die.
Yeah, I knew and I knew that he was coming back. Spoilers. So.
What?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it's obviously based on the movie in a broad sense. They've done different things just to make it a more playable video game. But I agree. I think for me the story is held back by the lack of voice acting, because you had such iconic characters in the movies. Like you get half the story, you feel like, as you're reading like these kind of lifeless captions on the screen. The classic dialogue between James Bond and 006 at the beginning, where he, the luck and fate. That's good stuff.
Yeah. I just wanted Pierce Brosnan's British accent in my ears.
I know.
It's just his
that's like half of the 007 experience, right?
Pierce Brosnan right there. I mean, we get his beautiful visage in via this game.
Oh,
he's
so how beautiful it is.
So
when we talk about graphics, I have some thoughts on this.
Well, that's segue to graphics. Cam, tell me, what are your thoughts on the graphics?
Okay,
please.
They went with trying to be lifelike here with some of these models,
yeah.
And it just turned out, I don't think it was the greatest of
So this is the classic trap, though. Like, anything that goes for lifelike graphics back in the day, like, it was like, it looked really cool back then, but it doesn't hold up.
It does not hold up now. In fact, it being such low poly, my comment is it looks like they just ripped the skin off of these actors and then placed it on like a box robot and like around like.
Look, you can see it right here.
Yes. It's I mean, have you ever? I mean, it's just like Dwight Schrute when he puts on that little mask thing from the doll. It's just like that. So you get that uncanny valley and stuff like that.
And as if the skin only had a resolution of like 64 pixels by 64 pixels.
Yeah, and I remember even back in the day. I hate to compare it to Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear Solid, it didn't have the realistic.
It has roughly the same number of polys, right?
Yeah, same amount of polys, but they didn't do the thing where they pulled someone's like actual like scans of their face and put it on there. There was left ambiguity there that you could actually put some of your own like imagination in, and that holds up way better today. And then back then, like Clark said, I'm sure it looked good back then, but man, it sure looks like crap now.
And the first-person perspective just puts you right up in the faces of every single one of these characters all the time. And Metal Gear Solid does to some extent, but this is just this is the entire game is that you're looking at them. Clark, what do you think?
I mean, it's an absolute abomination.
You're like
nightmares.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel. It's like. The actors are like, that they're silently saying, "Kill me! I can't be in this existence anymore."
So there's some tongue-in-cheek, and you guys didn't get to see this because the campaign was basically a vehicle. Well, I mean, as Clark said, it was the original intent of the game, but it was a vehicle to unlock things in the multiplayer. You unlocked different characters you could play as. You unlocked different levels. You might have unlocked different modes. I don't remember. But as you unlock these things, you could unlock big head mode in multiplayer. Did you guys ever see any videos about that?
I think I did. Did that actually increase like your hit box? So like you were easier to kill?
Yeah, your head was like bigger and you could hit it, yeah. They had paintball mode. So there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, I think, with the graphics. But yeah, I mean, anytime you do, like you were saying, you do something realistic like this, like you're comparing it to the original. And this was so iconic. Right, like like you're never gonna stand up to it. I would say even until recently, the technology wasn't there for games to really stand up as ports from movies.
Yeah, you always got that kind of uncanny valley thing. Even I've been playing the most recent Indiana Jones game, and that one's really good. But there are still times where you get that little uncanny valley thing.
And I think the closer that they get to the movies, it's gonna the easier it's gonna be to like identify those moments. Because it's like you're so immersed, that game looks so good, but the second that like something you're pulled out, and that's so until the technology progresses where it really is perfect.
Let's be fair though, I never got immersed in this game. It's not immersive at all.
You were playing it wrong, man. So the graphics, I agree, aged terribly. They were terrible graphics.
I mean, we talked about this last time with our last podcast, but if you compare this to Symphony of the Night, I mean,
technically this was a better game.
They shot higher. They flew too close to the sun.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically it takes a lot more to drive a game like this, like processor wise, and it takes a lot more engineers to get this game up and running.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't hold up as well as something like Symphony of the Night does.
Yeah, that's a good point. There were a few things I was impressed with. I always thought that the guns looked really cool. The gun models, the way that
the sounds.
The sounds were awesome. And let's talk about the sounds. What did you guys think about the sound design in this game?
That elevator track that we kept playing.
Yeah. Oh man,
It's blowing my mind.
If we can insert that right now, a 10-hour loop.
Muzak. No, the sound design is pretty good in this, and like the enemies, they make noises.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not going to say that the best, most high quality sounds because it still is on a cart, but they do have some real samples of grunts and stuff like that. So
one thing that we didn't mention with graphics that I want to say that this game is actually might have been ahead of its time is the way that you shoot the Soviets in the gun. They would react depending on where you shot them, which games like Quake didn't even do. So if you shot them in the arm, they would recoil on that side.
And there'd be some blood. They'd have a little spot of blood show up on there.
Yeah. So
that's
I know
Nintendo.
I know that we're rewinding a little bit on graphics, but I want to make sure to shout that out because that's something that this game did that I'm pretty sure that games like Quake hadn't done up to this time. So.
Well, it ties in because like Cam said, they would make these grunts or being hit noises. I remember in particular in the facility level, if you snuck around back, you could shoot this one guard in the butt, and he would be like, oh. So that was class. A 7-year-old, I'm like, this is peak video game. This literally doesn't get better than this video game.
Unfortunately for 7-year-old T is that this game actually got censored quite a bit when it got brought in. There used to be a lot more blood in this game.
Come on, don't give in. So yeah, I mean, I think it all ties in. It makes it very satisfying to shoot the bad guys. They react in interesting ways. The guns, they look good. They sound good. Mm-hmm. The enemies make reactive noises. And so yeah, I really I think if there's one aspect of this game, the design in general, is that the guns are very satisfying to shoot. In my opinion, the guns they all do different amounts of damage. They all sound different. They all recoil different. They all have different muzzle flash. I like that. I thought that was some good attention to detail.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed really when things got pretty hectic in the 4-player game, when you got those cool guns, you had one of the machine guns that was really powerful. Especially there was a couple times where both of us had it and we would start shooting at each other in the game, and the game would just go to 4 frames per second. It would you could tell it was supposed to be cool, but you can just have to imagine it in your mind because it's running so badly.
Yeah, that 4-player mode, it makes it hard to enjoy those sounds and the sound design because everything is chaotic. Because someone on another screen is shooting, and you might be shooting at the same time, and everything's just
the game can't handle.
There's a few times where I could hear these cool firefights going on, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, I wanted that firefight," and I couldn't figure out how to get to where you guys were.
And you were lost in the bathroom.
I didn't open up the secret door to get to this other part. Yeah. So that's just one of the charms of a 4-player couch co-op because all of the sounds are coming through the speaker.
Yeah.
And you
something's going on.
I did notice one time I picked up a silenced handgun, and I'm like, okay, they're not going to know I'm playing. It's not going to make any difference.
It just sounds cool. The music. Tell me about the music, Cam. What do you think?
I'm going to, the best music is when you first boot it up and you get the shredded version of the James Bond theme. It's the electric guitar. So I thought that the music is good, and the Muzak, what we talked about, was good.
Muzak.
And some of the first couple levels that I listened to, I could still have the little stuck in my mind.
It does, like a lot of, it's not just this game in Nintendo 64, in all games, but it does like when you're going and you're lost in these levels and the music is like on like maybe a 2-minute loop, it gets grating at that point. But you know, for the first 2 minutes or whatever, it's in the first few times you hear it, it's really good.
Yeah.
Well, and see, it's mostly just, you know, it's samples and MIDI files because it's on a cart. So there wasn't a huge amount of room for them to add some, you know, like actual recorded music and stuff like that, which could have helped it, but and I'm sure there's some orchestrated...
Which was sort of the standard for that time, except for the PlayStation. Like,
I was going to say, we were used to the PlayStation.
It suffers compared to the PlayStation, like a lot of the audio. Not all, the PlayStation had some of that kind of audio too.
But I'm not going to knock it for that because it had hardware limitations and stuff like that. I thought that the overall music...
They did a great job, like, getting the essence of James Bond music in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun to listen to, I thought. Did you guys get a chance to listen to the pause screen music?
So when you pull up your watch?
Yeah. So the pause screen...
I did pause it sometimes, but yeah. I can't remember it.
I can't think of it now off the top of my head.
You'll have to listen to it. The pause screen music has its own place as far as like the lore of this game. It's just enjoyable to listen to. So it's good music. It's very chill and relaxed. Not quite music.
I'll have to drop it in here right, so people can enjoy it.
Yeah, play a little sample. It's good. I think the sound design is impressive. I don't have any complaints given the time period and the technology that they were working with.
They were pushing some limits there for sure.
It was yeah. That's not the thing that holds this game back, certainly. Yeah. What else do you guys have to say about music sound design?
No, I think we covered it here. So, the gun sounds are obviously really important, and I think they nailed that there.
Yeah.
And the barrel rolls that the guards do.
The barrel rolls.
Do a barrel.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up now. As we go into wrap this up, we talked a little bit about the historical impact. We've played a lot of games that was kind of the granddaddy for a lot of games and even genres that we play today, know and love today. Did this game do the same thing?
I mean, absolutely. It's undeniable that this game put its stamp on the first-person shooter legacy and influenced the genre going forward. So, even though I wasn't really like there to witness and just barely, I guess,
Bask in the glow.
to bask in the glow, you can't deny that this has a lot of influence, and there are a lot of Nintendo 64 console gamers who this was their first entry into first-person shooters, and it was a great one.
Yeah, I mean, I gushed about Quake and its and how it affected games. This game's more influential probably than Quake.
For a lot of like certain segment of gamers, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and overall, it was a gateway for people into this genre of game, and you cannot deny the impact this game had. People still gush about this game. People have tons of nostalgia for this game, and it is a stone cold classic.
Yeah. It was really accessible, and I wonder what the first person shooter genre would look like today were it not for this game, to introduce people to it at that point in time, to get people in love with it, in love with the mayhem, in love with the stupidity and the awesome gameplay at times. I think it would be interesting to see that. All right, guys, we're going to tier this game. So before you guys come out with your sixes, let me explain how this tier system works. We tier on the standard rank. We've got S through F, S, A, B, C, D, F. S would be, it would still be one of the best games of the year if it was released today. A would be nostalgia helps carry it today, but it's still an all-time great and fun to play. B is still a fun game to play, but it would not separate itself from the pack today. C is fun to play for 10 minutes and then you move on. D is nostalgia alone is not enough to get you to turn the game on. And then F is not only is it not good today, it wasn't good then. We've played a lot of games. I don't think that we've had any sixes until now. Until you guys are about to get this six. I don't think we've had any Fs yet either. S's and Fs. So we've assigned a number system too to calculate this mathematically. So we're about to give you guys a number and we'll play it all out. Let me go first.
You go first.
So I have some very fond memories of this game. Nostalgia is a huge part of this game for me, for sure. And there is a very strong fan base, a lots of nostalgia, not just from me, but like you guys have said, from everybody. I think that the multiplayer is still the things that made it fun then make it fun now. Like I don't think that it's lost a lot of its legs. I think it's still chaotic and stupid and fun for its own reasons. I think that there's no reason to boot up the single player at all. Nostalgia, yes, for me, but to be fair, like, you know, if I'm being completely equal here, like the single player is not worth booting up, except to get the multiplayer skins. But in this day and age, we don't need that. I think that this is more than just a historical blip on the record. I think that there's some gold here, some GoldenEye here. I give it, yeah, big time. I give it a 3.5 because a straight 3 says fun to play for 10 minutes, then you move on. I think there's a little bit more. I think that you could make a whole night around the multiplayer. I think that you could do that with the right group of people, and it would be consistently fun no matter what. So I bump it to a 3.5. That's my score. Clark.
Well, I mean, I was ready to come in and give this a 2. I'm sorry, T.
No, it's fine. I know you're giving it a 6.
Not a 6, but the sessions that we had today, the multiplayer, is what really convinced me to give it a little bit more. So I think in our notes I put 2, but I will say that 3 is where it should probably be, and I actually, okay, we'll say 2.5. We'll split it. I see your point that yes, I would absolutely like join in with a good group of people to play this game. So it's a great, fun game. I do think that there are, like, if I was to choose, would I rather play this or like Halo? I would choose Halo over this, and I would choose a lot of games over this still. So that's why I think maybe I'd bump it down a little bit from what you're doing. I have no nostalgia for this game.
Yeah.
So I think that nostalgia is what's going to bring people to this game, and I think that's a valid reason. But my perspective, if you don't have the nostalgia, it's probably more like a 2.5.
Cam, take us home.
I'm kind of with Clark here. I was prepared to give it like a 2.5, but I had fun playing the multiplayer, and it was fun seeing. I was getting secondhand nostalgia from you. I could tell you were excited about the game, and that made me feel good too.
That was really cool.
Yeah, the secondhand nostalgia and the multiplayer, it was fun. I had a good time, and I can't deny that. So I was prepared to give it a 2.5, and I'll bump it up to a 2.6.
Whoa! Money bags over here. Generous.
So, I mean, price is right, me.
Exactly. I myself have no nostalgia for this game, but I understand its historical impact and all the nostalgia people like you have for this game, and I think it's fun to sit down and play some multiplayer, see other people's joy from the game, and I really do enjoy that. I had fun today, and it's a fun game. It has a place in history. I just wouldn't boot it up and play it very often.
Yeah.
So what's the final score, Cam?
All right. Final score. That's good, can't be right. Divide by.
Oh, you're divided. You have to hit equals.
Oh.
Do we keep all this in, or do we edit this out?
I'll edit it out.
I want everybody
Then
to keep
divide
their,
by 3. Okay. 2.86.
2.86, folks.
It's not one of the higher ones.
I was gonna say that might be one of the lower ones. So we were supposed to have a 4th host. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it.
But he did put his own.
He put his own.
Yeah.
Do we want to include that? Okay. So he said. So I'll read his notes here. He said, if it was an Oblivion style remaster, the Oblivion that just came out, possibly a 5.5 with the right studio and adjustments. Okay. He said just a straight re-release. If it was just the same game, he said he'd probably give it around a 3 for just being old and simple. He said that it was just really the multiplayer that kind of carried the day for him. So if we give it the 3, because we're not looking at an Oblivion style remaster, what does that take us? What score does that take us to?
2.9.
2.9.
I think 3 or close to a 3 is a good rating for this.
That's good. Well, I'm glad that we talked about this game. This was a nice turn of the tables for me, for you guys, something from my childhood that that I could have you guys suffer through.
Oh man, I had so much fun with this episode, and
Yeah, it was a blast playing the game together.
Yeah.
we really do have a treat for you next time too, with Montezuma's.
I don't want to talk
This
about
might be
it.
one of the. Yeah, Montezuma's Revenge and Treat should not be in the same sentence together.
It's gonna be fun. 1983 game.
This might be one of the oldest games you've ever played, I think.
1983?
Yeah.
Really?
So.
What am I going to play that on? Can I get it on the
You can.
Or
Yeah,
is it
yeah, you
easy?
can. As long as the you can play the Master System. It was on Sega Master System.
Oh, that's what you got.
Well, I mean, the original ones were like Amiga and Apple II.
Apple II.
And
But there was a Master System port. That, well, I guess the Miu can probably play Apple II and all that stuff too.
well, if you play the Apple II version, which is the one that we played, it was a port, the one that we played. You can actually just go to a web page and load up Apple II games
Very cool.
on a web
Cool.
page.
It won't be hard to find.
Sounds like I'm scrolling.
And
back
there
to
is
Twin
there
territory.
is a remaster on Steam as well. Remastered.
Remasters.
quotes. Yeah.
Well, before we sign off, I'll plug again. Engage with us on YouTube or email us at twincastpod@gmail.com. Play along. We'd love to hear your guys' comments. That's Twincast.
And we're out.
Woo!
So yeah, like move it there and then zoom in a little bit.
Oh, that looks good, yeah.
How's that?
That looks solid.
Looks like Metal Gear Solid.
It's going to. Your arm might be cut off a tad bit.
Oh, don't cut off his gun.
You gotta get
His
the
right
guns.
gun.
I got the right to bear arms.
I think we're good to go.
Doing some vocal warm-ups.